Barrientos with Spectrum Talks and Tips, and I'm here today with Nancy Gilbert. Nancy is a real estate agent in the West Valley, Arizona, but she's also a mom of autism. And Nancy's here today because she actually saw a video that we had done, one of our podcasts, talking about mortgaging a home and refinancing homes. And that was with Stephen Smith. And Nancy and Stephen are collaborative partners. And Stephen, as you remember, is a dad of autism. So we do spend a lot of time with our autism families. And Nancy's here today to give you some simple tips and talks about what it is to purchase a home, especially if you're raising an at-risk or an autistic individual. So Nancy, how are you today?
I am great, Cricket. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. Well, Nancy, I would love to hear. I'm excited to hear because I love purchasing real estate. So this is a perfect topic of conversation. So I'm going to let you take it over. Here you go.
Oh, sounds good, Cricket. Well, yes, real estate is obviously my passion. It's what I do for a living. But I noticed sort of an underserved area within real estate, and that was working with families who have a child with autism or any other special need. I keep reading that moving is in the top 5 stressful experiences in life, including, divorce and I can't remember what the other ones were, but it is up there. So it is stressful on all of us. So then you add a special need in there like autism, and that is magnified. So I just want to be there for families who are buying or selling. I have very specific ways that I can help, but on the outset, I want to be someone that they don't have to explain their life to. So I get, you kind of get tired as a parent of a child with autism of explaining, oh, we can't do it this way because of XYZ. And I want to be that person in this transaction that they don't have to explain their life to. I understand it. If they say, you know what, we can't have showings from 3 to 5 Monday, Wednesday, because that's when we have OT or whatever, then they don't have to explain that to me. I get it up front. So that's really what I want to be to these families, is just alongside Stephen in the mortgage process, so it's seamless. And I can also work with the agent on the other side to explain, some situations that may come up. So, so there's lots of things that I have done with families, and I can help them to navigate whether they're buying or selling is 2 very different things. So, for example, on the buyer's side, on the seller's side, I think having strangers come in your home and look at through your rooms and your stuff is kind of creepy, right? And so I can't imagine, as a child of autism who may have their things in very specific places, or very, very aware of their space, and they like their space. Their home is their safe place. And so you're having random people come in. I had one child who did not want anybody to come into their room for showings. And I said, hey, what about if we do this? What are those special things that you don't want them to see, touch, whatever? And so he had his specific things. And I said, let's get a basket. And every time that you have to leave for showings, you take those things with you. And that made him feel more comfortable because he had those special things with him, and random strangers weren't going to be, not that they would touch things anyway, but seeing them, just being in their space. So that is just one quick way that I helped that child. And what was so amazing about that was that the mom was so thankful.
Nancy, when you're doing that with it, a lot of times people don't understand, well, why would that be a problem? But with sensory, we know that there's a lot of things that go along with it: smell, taste, touch, hear, right? All of those things are enhanced so many times. And so with people going into the child's room, we may not, as typical, individuals, we may not smell an individual,
Yeah.
their scent that they left behind, but our kids do.
Yes.
And it could be very detrimental to, them sleeping. It could trigger them. People don't know those things.
Yeah.
So that's a great tip, because that will help our families do a better job at maybe just preparing the realtor, preparing themselves, and preparing their child to have a more successful transition when those things happen. So good.
Yes, yes. And I even thought about taking it a step further. If a child wasn't happy with that, I would block off that bedroom. They would not be allowed to show that bedroom. And if you put in a successful offer, then we will go look at the bedroom. Because what's really to see? There is four walls and a closet. So it's like
Yes.
I can give you pictures of that. I haven't gotten that far. We've gotten through those hurdles. But I would do pretty much anything to make it easier for the child and the family in order to make showings work. And do we want people to be able to see that house all the time and not block off certain times? Absolutely. But we don't live in a world that is perfect. And so we need to set boundaries to make a successful sale.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because you do that and you make those extra steps important, um, I mean, I was in sales many, many years. When you do those extras and it's not conditional, it's just because this is the right thing to do. Families will repeat business. They'll tell everybody about you, and that's the world of autism. We continue to gain, an audience because of somebody else telling somebody about us, and then we have those people in our hands, and now it's you got to do the best you can to make them feel like you care. Because if you care, they're not alone, which is awesome. And then these things become a lot easier for everybody involved. And mom and dad feel like this is a flawless move versus the struggles that sometimes they go through. So I appreciate that you do that.
Thank you so much. And I also have a tip guide. It's top 6 ways to help your autistic, ADHD, or anxious child with moving. So I have come up with sort of a plan or some things to think about, which also spark conversation with buyers and seller clients too. Okay, I didn't think of that, but what about this? So it's sort of a starting point to talk to my clients. So that has been successful, and truthfully, it was kind of fun to go through that process and think about those things, because what did I just automatically do with my own children when we moved, and what.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of things that we had already done. And the other thing that we did, this was before I was a realtor and we moved, and I would do with my buyer clients is, so say you go look at 8 houses in a day or whatever you've looked at, you've narrowed it down to your final 3. We go back with the child to look at those houses. So that being part of an 8-hour day of looking at houses is exhausting for any child. So, but that way they're part of the process. And that is a huge part of this. As adults, this is a super stressful time. And so we forget to include them.
Yeah.
And so this is a very important thing to include them in on, and feeling like they could be part of the process. And some of the kids have come along, and then I give them specific tasks. I gave one a phone and I said, I need you to take pictures of everything. And so there was 150 pictures of all the houses, but occupied, and they felt part of the process.
Yes.
So lots of different things to help them with.
Well, and Nancy, you see the water behind me in my backdrop, and that was intentional when it came to families, because many times we're moving because of a job change, or somebody got married, or a big life change is occurring on top of the move. And so when that happens, we sometimes just say, okay, this is a perfect home. It's not everything we want, but it's good enough, and we settle because we have to make this move happen quickly. And some of the things that we want to make sure families are aware of is, if your child is an eloper, we call them, if they are sneaking out of the house and they can escape and they start running, being aware of how close water canals are or pools or anything like that is very important because we had a presentation a few years back, and the lady said that one of the most common ways of a child passing is because of drowning. So and especially in Arizona, we have so many pools here. So I share that with you because even if the individual is in their 20s or their 30s, it could still occur, and people are unaware. They think, oh, they'll just grow out of it. But not always. That's not always the case.
And you brought up a good point there too, is the canals here. We all think about pools. And, I talked to my clients about pool barriers and fences and all of those things and the best kinds to have and the alarms and all those things. But if you're backed up to a canal, that's a huge, that is an absolutely huge, huge issue which we don't think about as much here in Arizona.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I wanted to mention was school districts, right? Making sure that that your school districts have a great special ed program or a SPED program, because if that's not the case, and even if your child's only in kindergarten, make sure you look all the way to the end, even colleges, because if you have that easy transition and one school feeds into the next, a lot of those kids will stay consistent, which helps. But it's also, if you have a great elementary program but then your middle school and high school are not as great, that could really be detrimental to the development of your child. So we want to make sure that we do our research, do your homework, talk to the neighbors, talk to the people at the school districts, and ask questions. Talk to the families that know what you should be looking for.
Interview them, interview these people. And the good thing is once we find, okay, this is the elementary school area or whatever that we want to be in, I can draw specific areas where they can, at that border, I can put the school district border in for their home search. So, there's another layer of, involvement with realtors and finding you. It's not like you said, it is, do we all want the quartz countertops and all of the things? Absolutely. But there is often more to buying a house than making sure that there's the right kitchen and bathroom.
Yes, agreed. Well, and with Landon, he was not a big fan of white walls. That triggered him. And so we had white walls everywhere in our house, so we had to paint his room blue. And he's able to, when he's over, stimulated or he's having some issues, he can go ahead and just go up into his room and hang out there for a little bit and then kind of, reset. So those are things that we recommend. Or I had one realtor tell me cacti. They don't like the cactus in front of their house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you don't even think of those things. And we have cactus everywhere. So
you just never know what those things are going to be. And it's funny, you should, on my sheet here, I do have, let them decorate, when they get that new place. So that's so funny that you should mention that, because that is a huge part of it too, is let them make it their own.
I agree. Well, Nancy, I really appreciate your time today. And for those that are watching, Nancy will be meeting with me once a month to give more tips as we go throughout our journeys. And she is a mom of autism. I'm a mom of autism. And we have a lot of team members that are surrounding us that are moms or dads of autism. So, we are here to support you, whether it's, buying a home, financing a home, or just needing support or wanting to be a part of this. Please reach out to us at www.soundsofautism.org. Thank you, Nancy. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.